I think the earlier you can get really good at storytelling, the easier your entire life will be, because every single conversation you have will go 10 times better. And on the flip side, it took 6 months to raise our seed round, and we had revenue, and it was a $3.5 million seed round. Why? Because I sucked at storytelling, right?
I had to become very, very good at forcing people to fail or succeed extremely quickly. And that changed the trajectory of my company. The rate at which things got done basically accelerated by 3 times because I would force people out within the first month, no matter what. All right, guys, so here's a story for you. Pearl TV is what I'm calling our content. Next to me is an organizer of 25 million tickets sold to some of the most unbelievable events, drivers of happiness, culture, good vibes, good music. Avante is the founder and CEO of Posh, event and social experience platform helping organizers execute on their events. Outside of meeting at Joshua Browder's house in Christmas of 2020 and closing their Series B just yesterday, 37 million led by the team at FirstMark. Unbelievable, great team. I'd love to have you share parts of your journey. We have a lot of listeners that are starting to become founders or already founders and just love the dopamine of the storytelling, the fun stuff that we've gone through. I say fun stuff because we made it through. But also
fun looking back. It wasn't fun.
Fun looking back because we made it, man. Because we made it through. But you've had an incredible journey. You started DJing when you were 5 years old. Built your first company when you were 15. Then you came to NYU full ride, right?
Yep.
Got screwed over by some promoters, led you to the idea of Posh, dropped out of NYU. And then I think we met 6 months later. That was our inception story.
Yep.
Dude, thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, of course.
Excited.
So, listen, man, there's a lot to share here. I think one of the first things that I'd love for you to talk about is how does it feel to have just closed your Series B? This journey's been tell us about your journey a little bit, but how does it feel?
Yeah, I think what's interesting, you said yesterday, we announced it yesterday, but we closed it almost 4 months ago at this point. And that's what people don't understand sometimes is the public narrative, right, is never actually what's going on behind closed doors, right? You have to go actually get all the checks in the bank. You have to go talk to the press. You have to abide by their timelines. You have to get the narrative right, all these different things. But with that said, right, it's kind of by the time everyone already finds out about it, you're kind of over it. Because it was 3-4 months ago. I'm thinking about the next step, right? And I think so. It is kind of this weird moment where all these people are congratulations, right? And for me, I'm kind of just kind of ready to get to the next step, and already anxious that we're not there yet, which is kind of hilarious. Obviously, on the bright side, it is a very positive, exciting moment. I think it's a very exciting moment for the team, right? People love to get recognized for their work, and I made sure that we did a team photo. Everyone got kind of included in the press release. So I think that's really what made me more excited about announcing the round, is that the team felt really genuinely excited about this step. Yeah, and that it was a great win for everyone that did all this hard work.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. That's awesome. And so I imagine everyone's stimming in the office, just absolutely stoked, no?
I think more excited with the announcement than when I announced it to the team. Because they see all the media and this and that and all the views and likes and stuff on social media, which I think makes it more real for them.
Yeah.
While I think for me it's they don't get to see when the wire hits the bank account. So I think that was my moment, right? Yeah. It's when you see the wire hit the bank account goes up. It's oh my God, what the fuck is this, right? Yeah. For them, it's they don't get to experience that moment. They're not logged into our Bank of America, right? Of course. So the media is kind of that moment for them.
I think one of the things that probably the audience would want to hear about is what's the responsibility of raising this amount of money, right? Everyone sees the goodness and the fun, but to your point, now it's fuck, we got to execute. How do you feel about that?
Every subsequent round is more pressure, right? And you have to give yourself a good hard look in the mirror and be am I made for this? And you better answer with yes. Otherwise, you got to have a lot of very important people that are very, very, unhappy with you, right? And I think just understanding the level of responsibility that each subsequent funding round bestows upon you.
Yeah.
I think is step one, right? I think if you're ignorant to the amount of responsibility that you're taking on, then you're going to make a lot of mistakes, and ultimately you're going to, ruin your reputation in the long run.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of that, you also have to accept that, as long as you know that you put in 110% from the second you got the money until the second that the company either gets to the next step or fails, that people will understand that like it was not your fault and that like it was a function of the market or other things, right? But you have to at least know that if this thing doesn't work out, that like it had to have not been your fault effectively, and that you did like everything within your power and like abandon everything else outside of the company
100%
before getting to that step. And just making that clear to everyone else, right?
Yeah. I mean, okay, I want to dive into that because like you're doing music, like you're also ripping it, like you're hosting events. Like I think
less so.
I imagine less so. I imagine less so, but also like I find that these things, like I kite surf and surf, and like I make it a point to make sure once every couple of months I go with my brother on like a 4-day, like just like no technology, just sport, just out there. And I find that it really helps like just like process things that like in the day-to-day, especially in the city, like in the city, it's this constant richness of culture and like just so many rabbit holes to go down, and like you'll end up in some incredible things, but like it's a lot. So how do you think about balance now? Or like what is balance? Is there such a thing as balance? Like what is balance to you now?
I forgot. I was listening to another podcast, some founder or something, and it was the quote. I just remembered it. It was there's no such thing as balance, only harmony. And I think that's like an interesting take on it, because I think like as long as you feel like all of your priorities are singing in harmony with each other and that you're happy waking up every day, like this idea of balance of like, oh my God, I'm working too much because why? Because external people to you told you you're working too much.
Right.
That doesn't matter. Like if you're happy that you're
100%.
spending 90% of your time on your work and your work makes you happy, these people ultimately are probably just jealous or don't understand that they get that, like, how could you be so obsessed with something, right? That you deprioritize having fun in whatever way, whether it's drinking or going to a, non-drinking activity or whatever it might be, relationships, who cares, right?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of the time when people tell you that like you need more balance in your life, it's because either they don't understand or they're jealous of you loving what you do to such a crazy extreme extent. But yeah, for me, like I don't try to think about balance. I just try to think about, am I happy every day, right? And as long as I'm happy every day, then I'll keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, I think that people, one thing I've noticed, and this has helped me like reframe how people give like how I take advice, is that people that care about you want the best for you, and usually they think that's what's best for them is what's best for you.
Yep.
And so like as long as you can take in that appreciation for like they're telling you this because they genuinely believe that this is the best for you because it's the best for them, then you can mold it however you want. It kind of like, I don't know why this took me to like our people, right? The people we bring onto our teams, the people we empower, the people we're trying to help change their lives and have them work on something that's so incredible like what we're building. We're 600 something people through now. You guys are in the 100 as well, right?
Like 60.
Okay, wow. Yeah. So like still an insanely big team. Like internally at Pro we're 60, but we have 600 people working across our 250 companies. And so like I think there's a sense of responsibility we wield. We're also locked in, so we're just pushing. And obviously, if you're hiring the right people, it feels more dopamine than like scared or like responsibility. But how do you think about people, like first principles? Like, what do you look for in people?
I'm trying to think about like how to not say the things that everyone says, but I think they are what everyone says because they're true, which is like obviously number one, high agency, right? Bias for action, people who've taken big risks in their life, people who have bet on themselves when others haven't, people who think about the world in a different way. I think a really, really great interview question I've been asking recently is, what do you believe to be true about the world that most people disagree with? And every single person's like, I've never been asked that in an interview. It doesn't matter how old they are, how many interviews they've been in. They've never been asked this in an interview before. And it actually emerged from what's your hottest take, but that wasn't getting them to think deeply enough.
Sure.
So I kind of rephrased the question. And what's interesting about this question is that some people, I think the lamest answers I've gotten may have been, and apologies if the people that gave me these answers are listening, right? But it's like, Prince is better than Michael Jackson, or like, Finding Nemo is a bad movie. And it's like, these are not, like deep pontifications about the world. This doesn't really show me that you think about the world in a, really meaningful way, or that you're really thoughtful about whatever you might be up to on a daily basis, right? I think better answers, which, I'm not saying I endorse or agree with these answers, but is like someone actually told me they believe that AI monarchies would be the most effective form of government. And like whether or not that's true, at least you think about the world deeply enough that in a job interview you were able to come up with that on the spot.
Recognize that Finding Nemo isn't the right thing to be
right about. Recognize that. Recognize also though that you have enough self-confidence to tell me something that's semi-political, right? And like if I don't agree with you, I might just be like, screw this person, I don't want to give them the job. But you are ballsy enough, right, and confident enough in yourself. So you're thoughtful, you're confident, and you know how to read the room and say something that like is actually answering the underlying question I'm trying to ask, which is like, how do you think about the world, right? And so anyways, long story short of it, right, is just like deeply thoughtful, high agency people that, have a strong bias for action and believe in themselves really deeply.
I think one thing that like changed the way that we were able to bring on such a high quality of talent at the amount of people that we bring on. So we're placing anywhere from like 30 to 50 people on an average month.
Wow.
And these are like not like call center customer support reps, right? They're like software devs or designers. They're like an EA for like me or you or any of our friends. And like, really everything. Like we have salespeople coming, selling like SaaS products. Like, they live in Brazil or they live in Colombia and like they're just absolutely ripping. And like, it's all these different companies hire for these different roles. So you have to become very specific in how do you find for the fit interview, right? Like what is the fit of someone that should be at Posh? But at the same time, like I think there are ways to test for some of the stuff you talked about, like the speed at which they execute on, like the way they deeply analyze, the way they think about like their motivation within work. But one thing that's, I think the most important thing that existed in my last company, which was what got Pearl to be born, was like, I had to become very, very good at forcing people to fail or succeed extremely quickly. And that changed the trajectory of my company. Like the rate at which things got done basically accelerated by 3 times because I would force people out within the first month, no matter what. And it was not because I didn't love them or like them or thought that they could be good enough. It was because like they could be an A+ player and the best person somewhere else, and it's not here. How do you think about that? Like obviously at scale, it's very hard. Like I've had to work extremely hard to teach each one of my managers to learn how to do this. And I have a Wendy Rhodes that's like, I had her in my last company. I brought her to this company and she's like my people.
Yep.
How do you think about that? Like forcing someone into excellence or forcing them out? And do you? Like maybe you don't.
Well, I think the first thing is that I don't think you can force someone into excellence. Like I think they need to want it for themselves. I think I've tried really, really hard to get a lot of people to want it, right, as deeply as I do, right? And I think a recent realization is that like people need to want it for themselves, right, more than you want it for them. And like you're not going to get someone to be like deeply inherently more motivated than they were when they met you, right? So it goes back to like the interview process, right? And trying to understand in my interview, right? I'm the final interview. I interview every single employee at our company. And I'm the final interview every on-site, right? And my questions are not really about like, can you do the role? It's all about like, are you deeply motivated? Are you deeply thoughtful? Do you have high slope, right? Are you able to learn things extremely quickly and then apply them and iterate and fail fast, right? And go back to the drawing board and figure it out, right? And keep failing 100 times till you figure out the 1% likely right answer. And so, yeah, I think you really like, obviously that does not go without saying that you obviously are, your job as the founder or CEO or even as a manager is to motivate your team, right? And to get them to do things that they didn't do before they joined your team or that they couldn't do without the team around them.
Yeah.
But getting someone to be deeply, deeply inherently motivated, right, is not something you can do. You can only just empower that motivation that they have to build and create great things.
I'm gonna share a secret with them. We talked about it earlier, but like, dude, it's that concept of like, what is the thing that is intrinsically motivating this human, right? Like you genuinely need to, this is the secret to hiring. You need to figure out what is the thing that drives this human to get to the future they want. And what I have found, we interview, we have 10,000 applicants a week right now. We interview a ton of them. And like what I have found is that there is an extremely high correlation between someone's execution being at the highest clip and a very specific reason they want to get to a specific place in the future. And our goal as founders is to understand like who's the most driven in the most, that has that goal set out, that intrinsic motivation to get to where they want to go. It doesn't have to do anything to do with the company, by the way.
Yeah.
You just have to give them the journey and the vehicle to get there, right? Like the company has to be, the opportunity has to be the vehicle where they see that future. And like, I think back on the, I went from a private equity asset management role right out of school into an SDR cold calling role.
Yep.
And it's because like I saw my future. I knew I was going to be building things that scaled a lot faster than private equity real estate. Yeah. And I would have taken that SDR role even if I didn't have a salary. Because the richness of learning, like, and I knew it was I knew I had to go build something when like I was caring a lot more about the outcome than like my manager's manager, who was the COO at the time. And then I realized he was on his way out anyways, like by his choice. But one of the other things I think about now is like we built Pearl AI School, right? And so we have people applying from around 20 different countries, and they pay a nominal amount of money to join 6 Saturdays in a row of prompting, reverse prompting, Cloud Cowork with like exercises and homework. And with a lot of the big guys, like they're laying off a lot of people, and they're not laying off a lot of people because they're not doing well. They're laying off a lot of people because they are gonna bring back those people that are AI native in the exact roles. And that's the narrative that I keep on hearing, and like I believe that to be true. I have a friend who's built an insanely successful AI implementation business, and he's like, the one thing I've been saying recently is an employee or a team member who is not AI native costs you 3 to 10 times what someone that is. And it's such an interesting frame because like it's true, like, right? Like think about all your beasts in your company that like are already like doing just like a little bit annoying thing to learn more, right? Like some people get dopamine from learning, and I do, but like honestly, I'm 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. always ripping, and then I'll get back on the computer and I'll be like, all right, like how do I learn how to Cloud Cowork? And now I'm 2 months into to coding, and like I'm ripping, you know what I mean? Like my productivity is increasing. So how do you think about reinvesting in your people? And like, I feel like it's hard. I feel like I have not seen a lot of like teams that do that. And so I'm curious if you've started or if it's part of the journey or.
Yeah, we've tried a bunch of different methods. What I'll tell you doesn't work is AI day. I think you can't do a 1-day hackathon. We dedicated like a day. Everyone come and think about how you can build an AI automation or tool that significantly cuts the time spent on one of your recurring tasks on a weekly basis, right? And so we dedicated a whole day, had a cash prize of $5,000 for whoever had the best idea. Sure. And then some runner-up prizes. Everyone participated. Got like out of the 60 employees, I think like 40 people participated. So like got some pretty good engagement. And ultimately like a lot of the ideas were pretty creative. None of them really were like 10x ideas, sure. But there have been 10x ideas that have significantly cut time spent on things like on sales prospecting, right, or enrichment of leads. There's a bunch of cool AI SDR tools that we are implementing that not only is taking the sequence a step further, but now giving you that back and forth between the lead. For sure. Obviously on the programming side, I mean, there's nothing really to be said there. Obviously there's continuously new tools, but not just like the classic cursor Claude code, but also AI PR reviewers, right, like Greptile or all these other tools that like are automating more than just writing code, but also building systems scalably. Yeah. But all of that to say that none of that came from AI Day, right? It comes from a consistent narrative throughout all hands, throughout Slack, sending articles, sending podcasts, forwarding conversations, right? And like dripping it into the culture on a daily basis. 100%. And candidly making those who figure things out, right, and apply AI to their roles, putting them on a pedestal, making them feel great. And for those who aren't necessarily doing it or are kind of naysayers, asking why, because you really want to understand why. There are some situations where like you should not be applying AI to some work that needs a human touch or needs to ensure no hallucinations,
private
right?
Information.
Yeah, private information. You don't want to be feeding, private user data to GPT to find something out, for example, right? And so, you want to like take a step back and listen. You don't want to be like, screw that, we're using AI on everything. But if their reasoning is not something compliance or legally related, then you do need to like, show those people why they need to at least be thinking about this, right? And typically those are the people that probably won't last, as long, not even at just our company, your company, at any company, right? In general, they probably won't be employable in the future. But I think over time, people are realizing that. So the number of people that are naysayers for any reason other than like legal compliance is becoming close to zero.
So yeah, I think you're on the money. I'm going to share with our audience here, like what's happening. We are tapped in every month. We speak to at least 250 companies, founders, and managers. And what I'll tell you to be true is that if your team is not focused aggressively on not like one word, and like, listen, by the way, like, I love the day of AI because it sets in like the fact that you've invested an entire day to it, like is a thing, right? Like it's like, all right, like Avante wouldn't do this if it wasn't essential for us to like, and maybe it's not the perfect thing that creates the trigger, but it's the fact that you guys invested that time. For us, like building the AI school started because we built it internally. 5 months ago, I called my, we do all hands every week and we have it right after this. And like, I'm like, guys, like the world is changing really fast. Like here are a ton of different, very specific resources. And for me, like it's all about education, like learning and development. Like I don't want to force function them to build. And I'm actually going to tell you a little secret of like what hasn't been working with. I did that and then it didn't work. But like, you got to teach them how to get excited about learning the net new. And then the ideas will come as they do their work throughout the days. But 4 months ago, I said that there was 25% of the team that went quick into it. They became software developers, basically just like absolutely ripping through the company. We started realizing that seeing like blocks layoffs and like other things like that, like people, it's going to change again. Like we have to be ready as Pearl. Like if our main mission is to change as many lives as possible, all these brilliant people internationally, like we have to make sure they're going to be ready too, to like get past whatever's going to happen in this future. So we now have an education program that's enforced internally in the team through Pearl. I do it as well. And I think it's super smart. Every week we start putting together net new content from influencers that we really believe in to just learn how they're applying it to their businesses. There's no force function in how the individual team members need to apply it. We now have like 95% of the team is cloud co-working and cloud coding internally at Pearl. The people that are working for our clients are getting there as well, but everyone built their own agents. Yeah, it's really cool though because now people understand the power, but like how much we spend on tokens is just absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. So I now have built like a SWAT team to come in and like rebuild that fundamental like connection of like how information speaks to each other, making sure it's all very well working. We're playing around with like NVIDIA's purchase of like OpenClaw and like how that plays into the company versus like cloud co-work. But the pace at which people are going to be able to build now is going to be ridiculous. And I personally think that hiring is actually going to increase because people become more productive. You're going to be able to push faster and just like things are going to, I mean, we saw it 2 years ago when all these AI companies started ginormous revenue numbers we've never seen before in like a month or 2 months or 3 months. So I know that you guys are implementing, like our team was doing like some research on, whatever we could find on Posh, obviously from the outside looking in. It seems like there's a little bit of like AI work happening with like how users interact. I'd love to hear a little bit about that and like the roadmap for the next 12 months of Posh.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that's, important to start with is a lot of these companies are putting .ai after their domain name or saying the AI solution for blank, right? And I think like ultimately they're trying to get the industry to see them as an AI company. I don't think I want the industry to see us as an AI company. I want them to see us as a marketplace that is AI native, right? And that is applying the technologies of the day to make our solution more productive. But slapping AI on your product and forgetting about what everyone always has already known, which is like to talk to customers, is the most ignorant thing that I've been seeing happen.
I appreciate that.
Right? Over the internet and even with my own friends and things. And it's like, so what is this AI product that you're adding onto your product to remain relevant, and how many customers asked for it, right? And the answer is not as great as you'd expect. And so with that in mind, like we've done a lot of research and spent a lot of time, myself included, like getting in the weeds, talking to customers, understanding what technology can do to solve their existing problems, right? And finally, we're pretty confident in a roadmap for implementing AI into the existing product ecosystem. But it's not about creating a separate product. It's not about allowing people to write with natural language, create a promo code instead of just going to the promo code screen and creating it themselves. Writing in a chat box is not actually more productive for every single use case in your product, right? Yeah. So there's certain things that we've just tried to think about, like, is it really helpful for us to save people maybe a half a second by allowing them to talk to an agent that will then take actions on their behalf? Or is it more productive to help them make and save money by having an agent take actions on their behalf proactively without them even having to talk to it, right? And so that kind of feeds into your question, right? But it's like we're really trying to take a different approach and effectively learn what our most successful creators are doing to grow their businesses and use that to educate an agent that will then be able to take actions on behalf of the maybe more newer or nascent creators to help them grow their businesses. And so a simple example of that may be a lot of event organizers sell multiple tiers of tickets, right? So you might have early bird, tier 1, tier 2, GA, VIP, et cetera, right? And they do this because, as you get closer to the event, as the quantity of overall space goes down, they can, use simple supply and demand tactics to drive up the price for the last few tickets, right? And eke out some more revenue. What the newer organizers do is they don't really realize this. And so usually what we'll see is that they'll just list one ticket, right? 100 tickets, it's a 100-person event, $10 a ticket. And so a simple action that, we could effectively take on their behalf would be, hey, Isaac, we see you have 100 tickets here. We're going to actually space this out into $10 for early bird, 30 of the tickets, 40, tier 1 tickets at $15, and 40 tier 2 tickets at $25, right? And now you've just eked out a ton of revenue potential for them, maybe even close to doubling their revenue potential just through a simple pricing dynamic, right? And that's like one action out of hundreds, if not thousands, that we could take on these organizers' behalves to really incept like new sustainable businesses by just giving them the tools that the more experienced folks are just doing on their own. And so, that's kind of the overview, right? That can blend down into a bunch of different things, but the simple things, right? Building your MCP, understanding how users use the product, and then using it for them.
Think what's important, like first principles. Like I do think that you're right. Like a lot of people are just like in this craze and like awesome, some things will happen, but focusing on like what are the core things that my users use this app for, and like what's the outcome they're looking for. Obviously, if I'm hosting an event on Posh, I want to make a lot of money. Like that's obviously like that's a truth. That's a truth no matter what,
I always say there's 3 things that a B2B product can do for you, right? It can save you time, it can save you money, or it can make you more money, right? And I think that making more money is what you can charge the most for, right? And why can you charge the most for it? Because that's the most valuable thing to anyone, right? And so I think a lot of products are so concerned with like saving time. And unless you're selling to like Salesforce, where saving, time on some recurring task is really like worth millions and millions of dollars to these businesses. Like it just isn't really as exciting of a value proposition as like make more money.
100%.
Right.
100%. And you can see it in the pricing of people's products. I mean, it's just.
We want to use AI to help people make more money on our platform.
That's good. I think the last question I have for you is, you're a serial founder. You've been crushing. You've been pushing. What is like one of the biggest learnings you've had throughout your journey, and like that you'd love someone to not have to experience themselves, right? That they can learn from your experience. What is like one of your biggest learnings thus far?
In the very beginning, I didn't understand the value of storytelling. And I think I was so concerned with the day-to-day of just like getting the next feature out, getting the next customer, making sure that we were generating a little bit more revenue next month than we are this month, right? And like those things are obviously important, and they are more important than storytelling at the early stage. But I think it prevented us from being able to raise as much money, onboard as exciting of talent, even get bigger customers who now understand like that we're creating something so big, right, and so much more impactful than any of the products kind of in our space. Not to mention, especially talent on the talent basis, like, oh my God, it's not a ticketing platform. It's like this social discovery marketplace that is empowering new businesses to form. Like that's so exciting to the people from, big tech companies that were getting to come take less money to come work on this vision. But I never understood that, and I was kind of just like upset that these people wouldn't take me seriously, instead of acknowledging that I wasn't good enough at telling them the story and sharing the vision. And so I think the earlier you can get really good at storytelling, the easier your entire life will be, because every single conversation you have will go 10 times better.
Yeah, I have to give a shout out my old co-founder. I mean, outside of studying Latin at Stanford, he was one of the best storytellers I've ever met in my entire life, and it led us to raising an 11 million round pre-product on 11 on 65 pre-product. I mean,
pre-product, exactly.
And that's a really, like, he told the narrative, and we recruited some of the best talent in the world in video game technology for our business, and it's impactful, and I think that's a really good piece of advice.
And on the flip side, it took us 6 months to raise our seed round, and we had revenue, and it was a $3.5 million seed round, right? And why? Because I sucked at storytelling, right? And so it's that's exactly the example right there.
Well, we're now with a nice 37 mil on the V. We're up and onward, bro. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, bro. Yeah, awesome. All right, dude. So you're going through some like big moments in your life now. What are you, 25 now?
Yep.
Closed your Series B a few months ago. It became public yesterday. Posh is ripping. You're ripping. You're in New York. You have a phenomenal office in the Bay. Like, when you're sitting with your family in 30 years looking at this, like, what do you believe to be true now that like you think will be true in the future for yourself, right? Like your purpose. Like, what do you want? Where do you want to be in 30 years? And like, now you'll be sitting with your family listening to this, and you'll be reflecting on it. Like, what do you think about?
I believe that what makes me excited is seeing people who have a lot of opportunity take advantage of that opportunity, right? And I don't foresee that changing throughout my life. I think the means to getting to that end might change through new businesses, maybe the same business, maybe not even a business, right? Maybe that is actually helping my family, right, achieve the opportunities that are laid out before them. But whatever it is, I think that that's going to be like my primary driver until the day I die, is just making sure that, like, people that have opportunity are able to seize that opportunity, able to understand the opportunities that they have in front of them, right? And whether that's through helping people become entrepreneurs today through Posh, or helping people connect more effectively through Posh, or in the future working on whatever, a genetics company, a robotics company, who knows, right? It's just helping people achieve their opportunity.
Yeah. What when you're thinking 30 years from now, you're gonna have a far more rich life in a lot of different ways. Like, what do you love doing right now that's gonna be fun to think about in 30 years? Like, are you partying a lot? Like, are you like dating a lot? Like, what's like, no business, like think personal.
That's hard.
Keep it PG for your kids and wife.
I mean, what am I doing that's fun now? I get a lot of fun out of work. I think, I like to have fun. I like to go party every once in a while, but I have been trying to tame it down, just because I do think, like, similar to kind of my last thing, it's like I want to make sure I'm taking advantage of my own opportunity, and like I want to make sure, we started the podcast earlier talking about like responsibility, right? And I want to make sure that like the responsibility that I've been bestowed is like not being taken advantage of. So I don't find myself right now having like as much fun as I probably would like to be, or like know I can in the future.
Sure.
I think I'm like purposely putting it off. So I'd hope actually, like, the reverse of your question is like in 30 years I'm having a lot more non-work fun than I am now, whether it's traveling the world with my family, or maybe, connecting more deeply with like non-work friends who I just connect with on a human level. Like, a lot of my friends now are people that I work with, which I love, dearly. But it does paint the question of like, what if I just, leaned into life as itself and kind of detached from work a little bit. But right now, with that said, like, I'm having a lot of fun. It is all tied to my work for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's one thing that you'd want like your future kids and family to know as like, hey, like this is important? Because I think like what would be cool is like when you watch this in 30 years, God willing, like you get to have that conversation now and be like, I've been telling you about this for years, and like now we're here. Like, what do you believe to be true? Is like you want your family, obviously take opportunities you already mentioned, but like what else? Like, is it spend time? Is it make sure you're spending time with families? Is it make sure you're like, what's another core?
I think disconnecting is going to only get more and more and more important, obviously, as we become a more tech-enabled society, right? And so that the most like pivotal moments of my last year have been the moments where I've taken a step back. I went to the Bahamas for a week last summer without my phone. I left it on my kitchen counter, and I had no phone. I brought my laptop in case I did not open it once. I'm very happy with that.
That's awesome.
And I didn't look at a screen for 5 days straight, Monday through Friday. And I basically, front to back a book, the Masayoshi-san biography. I wrote, tens of pages in my journal, meditated for a ton of time on the beach, and just kind of like was able to recollect and understand myself, what I wanted to do with, the next few years of my life, and all these things that probably I would not be able to even understand about the world and myself in a few month period, much less in literally the 5 days that I got that done. And so I think the value of disconnecting and just connecting with yourself by disconnecting from society and phones and things is going to get more and more important and going to have way more value as we become more and more glued to technology in our screens. Thank you, dude.